In this video I'm going to give you the latest news from Sadowski and Ashdown on their products ahead of NAMM 2020. Hey guys, I'm Tyler and you're watching the CTM Base channel. If you're new around here and haven't checked out any of my other videos, hit that like button and consider hitting the subscribe button as well. I do a ton of bass related videos, but if you're into all things kind of bass nerd, bass geek, this is the place to be. So this video is a news roundup. So this week, early in the week, so this is the week before Christmas in 2019. On social media on Monday it was alive with news from two companies, and I'll start off with Sadowski. Those of you who have seen my videos before know that I have two Sadowski basses and I'm a massive fan of the Sadowski sound and constantly go on about Sadowski things. And the news from Sadowski this week was that they have moved their, or they will in 2020 move their production of the Metro line basses. So those are the basses I currently play, the ones made in Japan, and they will be moving to Germany and China respectively under the Warwick brand. So Warwick will become the licensee for Sadowski products. Mixed reaction online, but let's go through the details of it and then I'm going to give you my opinion on the move. So for this deal, Warwick are going to be distributing and manufacturing Sadowski instruments under the Sadowski name. So the current line, as it stands, was the New York instruments, so the NYCs, which were all custom orders and included basses like, or anything that you wanted specifically ordered, a custom order was an NYC. And then they also did the Satin series, which were, they had fewer choices and custom options, but they had that satin finish instead. And then it moved down to the Metro line, which was made in Tokyo by Yoshi in Japan, and that was a small crafted shop. I feel like it's effectively a replica of the Sadowski shop, but in Japan. And so those had a couple of options, but were pretty much a standard build, but they didn't have the tone chambering and things like that, so a slightly cheaper build. But they had some cool options, and they were the only way you could get a bound fingerboard and block inlays. Those basses, and then below that, more recently, have been the Metro Express range. So that's Sadowski's kind of equivalent of the Fender Elite, really. Active electronics, Sadowski preamp, all that stuff, but a more mass-manufactured bass. So with this new deal, Warwick will be moving the Metro Express line to China. They will come at 799 to 899 euros. Those will be exactly the same in terms of the choices. It's just a standard range of basses that will make. The Metro line will move to Germany, and those will be team built rather than the kind of small boutique builder setup, small shop setup. And those will come in between 2,099 euros and 2,899 euros. And finally there will be a Sadowski Master Built series. So this is much like the Warwick Custom Shop Master Build series. These will have custom options and be the equivalent of what Roger was doing with the NYCs. Those basses will be available, as I say, as an entire custom order with all the options that you had, I believe, previously on the NYCs. And then finally there's going to be one other line, which will be a Sadowski New York line, which will be Roger's own smaller business and small shop that he runs in New York. They're going to move premises, and he's going to continue to build his basses as he always has done, but in quantities that they say between 5 and 10 per month. So for the Sadowski Master Built range, we're looking at around 3,100 euros up to 4,500 euros, but I imagine that will change depending on the custom shop order that you make. And then the Sadowski New York instruments will be above that, I imagine, being that they are being built by Roger Sadowski still in his own New York factory. So why has this happened? The reasons are, according to what's been said by some of his employees, pretty much that the Metro Express line, which they released last year, or at least I think they might even announced it the year before, those basses just haven't really got into the hands of players. I know that, for example, here in the UK, one of the big dealers has had hardly any stock in of the Metro Express. They had a black one and I think one white one, and that's a big UK store with a few outlets. So with that in mind, Sadowski have chosen to move the manufacture of the Metro Express away and move it to Warwick, because they believe that Warwick obviously has a big distribution network, and they've been building bases in China that have been shipped all over the world, and same with their German stuff and then their master built stuff as well. So from that perspective, I can totally understand why Sadowski is doing that, and I think it does make sense from a business perspective, purely on a business perspective. And Roger is getting older, and obviously will have to think about the future and what happens to the brand, and it means he doesn't have to do as much dealing with the business side and can do more building bases. From my perspective, I think it's a good thing if you own a Metro now that was made in Japan, because I think that they're probably going to go up in value. I think it's probably a bad thing overall for the production quality of the Sadowski bases. Whilst Roger has done a really good job taking his base over to Japan and having the small shop build there, and then even with the Metro Express builds, they were, from what people have said, they've been great instruments. I think that the Warwick way of building is slightly different, and the philosophy is slightly different, and that they're saying that they will be equivalent to, they're going to be built in the same place as the rock bases are, the Chinese rock bases, and the Warwick rock bases are okay. They're distinctly okay instruments. They're not amazing, and they probably really need a bit of work when you get them, set them up, get them feeling really nice. And the quality of woods are again okay. They're just not amazing instruments. I think Sadowski's always been a very premium brand, and attaching that to a lesser quality product is not always going to be a great thing. I think when it comes to the team built Metro line, I don't think it's quite as much of a problem. I've played and owned team built Warwicks, and they are good instruments. But they potentially might not have the attention to detail that you currently get with the Metro line bases, being that they are the best product that they made in the Japanese shop. And that's not going to be the case anymore. That's going to be the second tier product, and I think that's going to have a little bit of a knock-on effect, not only in terms of the mindset of how they're built, but I just think that the number of them that they're going to produce, they aren't going to be able to be as special as the old Metro line were. And that's part of the nature of scaling up a business, that's part of the nature of the economy of scale, and it's part of the nature of the fact that wood is not a consistent material. It varies, and we're going to have a large number of pieces of wood being used to build Sadowski bases rather than the smaller numbers that were being used previously, and the fine detailing that was used on those pieces of wood. People really getting into the wood and being, discerning about what they're using. The larger number that you produce, the larger the number of inconsistencies, and the more difficult it is to produce that very, very special instrument. I think for the Warwick master built line of Sadowski, I think it will be a nice option to have. I've got a master built star bass that is a lovely instrument, but it doesn't have the same feel that Sadowski does. And I think that will be an interesting line to watch and see how that develops. The price is a little bit lower, particularly for us here in Europe. Won't be Europe much longer with Brexit, but for being over here, they are a lot cheaper than it is to order a custom shop from the US as it currently stands. But Warwick custom shops are still, they still rely heavily on their CNC. Warwick are a company that are very efficient in the way they build bases, and they are a real sales driven company. So I think things like that, the custom shop instruments are still very much CNC built, and it would be nice to have a number of options. On the promo material, there is a picture of a Sadowski jazz bass with a really beautiful quilted top, and I think that's the kind of thing we can expect from the Sadowski Warwick partnership on the master built front. Really beautiful tops, really beautiful looking instruments. It just remains to be seen how they will be in terms of their playability. One thing I think that's got to remain the same across all the lines is the electronics, and if we see a drop off in the electronics in the rock bass, say a cheap version of the Sadowski preamp made, or not so great pickups being used, I think it's going to be a little bit of a problem for the brand. I think you've got to look at this two ways. If you look at it as Roger Sadowski's retirement plan and a continuation of a brand that has developed a really great reputation and legacy and wants to be continued after Roger retires, I think handing it over to Warwick is a good idea. Allowing them to build the instruments and use the name is a good thing for your brand. and I think for the financial success and long-term viability of your brand and the business you've built, I think it would be hard for many people to say that they would say, oh no, I'm not going to do that, and not let Warwick have the name and be able to use the brand. So from a personal perspective for Roger Sadowski, I totally understand it. I think for the player's perspective, it's going to be, it could go either way. It could really go either way. If the cheap bases don't come out as well as we want them to, I think it could quite quickly tarnish the brand like it has done with Spectre. But if they can deliver a great quality product, I think that it can only be a good thing for the brand and players. And I'm a massive fan of Sadowski, so if all the people that I tell, all the viewers that I tell on YouTube to go and try them out and things like that, it's going to make it easy for you to do that. And I think it's a great sound, and everyone should, have the ability to have that sound in the arsenal and use it regularly. I think the only problem that we might see is if these cheaper bases don't come out as great, I think really Sadowski should just get rid of it. Just forget the Metro Express line. This move, by the looks of it, has principally been driven by the Metro Express line. The fact that they want to get their brand and the bases out to more people. But if the severe price drop, so it's about half the price of the Metro Express being made in Japan. If that causes a significant drop off in quality, I think I would just forget about it. It's not worth losing the brand and the reputation and the legacy of that brand. But it is, at the end of the day, a financial thing. It's how Roger's made his living, and everyone has to make a living. Everyone has to do what's right for their business, their family, and all those sort of things. And if that may well turn out to be the right thing for any business owner, to have more people using your products is the dream. So I understand it. I am not 100% against it. I love my Warwick. I love my Sadowskis. It could be an amazing partnership. But I'm also very apprehensive about the cheaper end and how the cheaper end are going to be treated in comparison to those cheaper bases as they currently stand. So that's my thought on the Sadowski news this week. And the other thing I want to talk about is Ashdown. Those of you who watch my channel regularly know that I have this, which is the prototype little stubby. This was the very first one that they built and did all the tours around all the guitar shows. And their news is that, like this, the little stubby here, which is it's an all-tube, all-valve head built into this kind of rack space size design. 2-unit rack space it would be equivalent of. They are building a CTM200. So the CTM200 really fills that gap between the CTM100 and 300. I know a lot of players who love the CTM100, but would want a little bit more headroom, and a lot of players that wouldn't want to step up to the 300 and the extra weight that you get with the 300. So I think this could be a perfect product. It's 2-unit rack space, I think, maybe slightly larger, but they have designed it to be primarily a rack product. They might be adding a head case for it and make that available. Mark said on Facebook the other day, so that remains to be seen. But yeah, it's the CTM 100 style design, so you've got the DI out on the front. It has some quite cool large knobs on it, which I think look really cool, that classic radio look I think a lot of bass amplifier manufacturers are going for recently. And then it has all the push-in, push-out buttons that make the CTM so popular. They're really powerful in terms of what you can do with tone shaping whilst not being too difficult to do it. So it's got the deep switch, the mellow switch, and the shape switch, and a bright switch I think as well. They're talking about that being shown off at NAMM in January, so January 16th, and yeah, I think it's a really exciting product. I think for anyone who's an Ashdown fan, it's going to fit really nicely into the range. I think 200 watt tube heads are pretty much the perfect volume for me in terms of my biggest gigs to my smallest gigs. You can really use them on both. No pure specs out yet, other than obviously the 200 watts. And Mark said it's going to be a heavy amp, but he doesn't really care about that kind of stuff. Ashdown don't mind it being heavy because they have the tone, and that's just the nature of this kind of technology. Personally, I'm very excited to try it out. And will definitely be taking a look at it when it's released. So that's all of the news for this week, or the two big pieces of news. Let me know what you think about both in the comments below. Obviously I've gone into a lot of detail on the Sadowski stuff because there's a lot of information to get into and to kind of chew the fat on, while the Ashdown stuff is just a really nice little product to look out for and look forward to. So let me know what you think of both of the products in the comments. Let me know about the Sadowski Warwick deal, what's your thoughts on it, and same with the Ashdown stuff, let me know if you're excited for the CTM200. Thank you for watching this video, I hope it's been enjoyable. If you've enjoyed it, I will do more of these kind of news videos, talk about my favourite topics and all the things in the world of bass. And yeah, please do get involved in the comments. I love the chats that I have with you guys in the comments, so get into there straight away. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you around soon.